I think there's two key issues that could have a big impact on the UK industry in the next couple of years. One is the implications of what set-top box manufacturers are going to do in response to the Project Canvas initiative. That may result in standardised set-top boxes, or that may fail since people like Sky and Virgin are opposed to it. But either way, I think it's going to cause set-top box manufacturers to up their game and look at more functionality in those sort of boxes. The second thing is the Ofcom work that they're doing, looking at wholesale content and pricing and so on. Reselling Premier League football games at certain wholesale rates. That could have implications for a number of competing platforms in the UK and shape the industry. I think if we look to some of the other trends, the last couple of years there's been a focus on hybrid platforms where you integrate IPTV with your over-the-air, whether that's terrestrial TV or satellite delivery. I think looking forward, we're going to see those platforms look to integrate over-the-top video to make themselves friendly to that approach, as opposed to a pure walled garden approach. And then finally, I think we're going to see people focus on fixed mobile convergence as a differentiator to bring that into their platforms and make greater use of standards. Going back about 2 years ago, you had to do a lot of integration to put a platform together. Now there's a lot more standards available from ATIS IF, ITU, broadband forum, etc. So that should help reduce the cost of putting platforms together. Well, I think some of the over-the-top capabilities, such as iPlayer, have certainly not made it easy for walled garden plays. So I think if you've got simply a Me Too product that can be approximated by just going and buying out the appropriate box, then I think you're doomed to fail. I think you do need to differentiate if you expect to take a subscription fee from someone. So I think that the bar has been raised by the likes of iPlayer, available on FreeSat. In the future, these sort of initiatives you can get from Freeview, Wii consoles, etc. So I think the differentiation is going to have to come from more unique content, but also higher quality. So you might be able to get 1 or 2 HD streams over FreeSat. So to compete with that, maybe you need to offer 30 or 50 HD channels, and in future 3D TV, as we're seeing people like Sky push out now. And then the question remains, can these differentiators be sustained, given the technology and regulatory changes coming along? So I think that's a kind of a risk area for folks there. So they need to really up their game to compete with the kind of free, non-subscription based offerings that are out there. Well, I think in cable and wireless we have invested significant amounts in our network over the last 5 years in a multi-service network platform. And there are a couple of attributes that I think position us well. One is the fact that the traditional bottleneck in a broadband network is the backhaul capacity from the exchange. And in that regard, we've rolled out 10 and 20 gig Metro Ethernet fibre rings with 1 gig connections into all our exchanges. And the vast majority of that fibre is our own. So that gives us great control over cost and capacity, which is certainly a differentiator compared to most other LLU operators. But secondly, we're also one of the only operators in the UK to successfully deliver multicast capability on our platform. And that's got obvious applications to an IPTV platform, but also for over-the-top video, we can use that to trickle feed set-top box-based storage to reduce the peak-to-mean ratio on the network. And that is a bit like having an extreme caching solution. Some of these set-top box vendors are looking at 320 gig and more storage. Some are even looking at a terabyte of storage now. So we can trickle feed that storage with our multicast capability in the middle of the night, keep the network loading down, and then folks can have their content on hand. So I think that multicast capability will stand us in good stead in that domain. I think there's a couple of challenges for UK service providers to deliver IPTV and broadband into remote communities. One is on the operating cost side. There are subsidies available from places like the European Commission to subsidise your capital costs, but at the end of the day you're still going to have an ongoing maintenance cost for that platform, so you need an assured revenue stream to cover those costs. And this is where government and local communities and councils can play a role. by aggregating demand, so that if you're assured that all of the local libraries, dentists, doctors, etc., are going to give you a revenue stream on that platform, that will help subsidise the OPEX cost. The second big challenge is whether your final tether to the user is fibre, copper, radio, coax, whatever, the backhaul fibre is a big challenge. So I think what we might see there is the either unbundling some of those assets, unbundling ducts, wavelengths, etc., or the formation of consortia to share those kind of assets. And one of the extreme forms of that is something that Ofcom have called active line access, where multiple service providers can get access to whoever's built the infrastructure in a standardised way. And that's of a great deal of interest to Cable and Wireless, because it means we can integrate all these remote delivery mechanisms in a standard way, reduces our integration costs. And what the ISPs really want is open access to that infrastructure, and really put it another way, that just means wholesale access. And that's exactly what Cable and Wireless have done with our broadband platform. We've got a wholesale access platform, existing interconnects, existing billing mechanisms and products around that. So I think we're strongly positioned to hook in these rural developments, bolt them into our existing wholesale broadband platform and offer that access to ISPs.